Hi, so I've been given topic B, and the reason I think most countries don't actually end up imposing a tax on the rich is because of the fact that when you impose a tax on the rich, it actually ends up creating a wedge in the economy. And so, what ends up happening in that market is that the price that buyers have to end up paying for that product becomes higher, and the price that sellers receive for that product actually decreases because they're levying out part of that revenue to the government for a tax. And so, it actually becomes mutually disadvantageous for the buyers and sellers to both sell in this economy, which would not have happened if this supply and demand in this case were at equilibrium. And so sellers would actually end up selling less in this economy, so the supply would go down and demand would also go down because buyers would end up buying less at this heightened cost. And so the tax that is levied out to the government is actually creates less revenue than would be created if they had not imposed the tax at all. And so it actually becomes more beneficial if they don't impose a tax on the rich, which is why most countries don't end up opting to do so. And so this market specifically, that is based on the luxury good market, actually creates a larger deadweight loss, and that is because of the fact that it is part of an elastic demand market. So when you have elastic demand in this market, that means that it is very sensitive to price changes because it is a luxury good and not necessarily a necessity like food or fruits and vegetables or those kind of things. So since you don't necessarily need this, sellers can opt to not necessarily sell this and could pull out completely from the market, which would be a huge detriment for the government, who would no longer make tax revenue off of this product. So it could be risky for them to actually do this. Additionally, buyers could also pull out of the market from buying that product because they could opt to buy it in another year when the tax isn't actually imposed and the product's price could be lower. And so in an elastic economy, the deadweight loss is much higher. And so another example of this would be in the industry of technology. So technology, and for the example of that, Apple, if they were producing iPhones and had a tax levied on that, they could actually end up not selling that product and pull out of the market completely, or create a price so high that buyers would also not be buying and they would not really end up selling. And so they would both actually be in a mutually disadvantageous situation. And that is due to the concept of elastic demand and deadweight loss in this scenario. Thank you so much for listening, and that is why we did not want to impose a higher tax on the wealthy in this situation. Bye.